You're listening to 90 Day Soulmate with the relationship engineers, Jim Golnick and Lisett Guevara, only on LA Talk Radio.
Welcome to 90 Day Soulmate with Lisett
and Jim.
Today we're talking about a subject of vital importance. The subject is vital framework for communication intelligence. In doing some research, we thought it was very important for in a relationship, as well as maybe where you work or just being out in public when you work and talk with people, that you learn, and we learn, effective communication.
Sounds good.
So we've got a program for it. We have 5 keywords or components that we call the vital components of effective communication. Can you believe that the word vital contains those 5 components?
Wow.
We're going to get into that and introduce you to those concepts. When we look at the little picture here, we have V-I-T-A-L. We have a picture of a microphone under the V. That's for voice. The ability to choose words and the type of voice you use in communication is very important. The I is in interconnection. It's interacting with your audience, listening, getting feedback, touching, being close to them, far from them, figuring out what works for the audience. T is transparent communication. You see the heart. It needs to come from your heart. It needs to be connected to you. So transparently communicating, especially important in relationships. A is alignment. Body, right? The body communication, body language that you use, as well as the facial expressions and the tone of voice, all have to be in alignment with each other for the biggest impact. And finally, L, the ear for listening. You need to listen sometimes before you speak.
This is what I'm doing. I listen all show.
Lisett really pays attention and chimes in when it's something that she really wants to make a comment on, like she's listening to the show. So that's our show for today. 5 components of high-value communication called vital components of communication. Let's kick it off with, what is effective communication and why is it important? The foundation of successful relationships, thriving workplaces, and cohesive societies all are based upon effective communication. Mastering communication requires more than just speaking. It demands clarity, engagement, and intentionality. Meaning choosing very carefully what you say, how you say it, whom you say it to, all making the right choices in how you express yourself. Yes?
Yes.
You like this topic so far?
Sure.
So we're going to talk about the vital framework.
Okay.
Vital, vitality or something vital, it's very important. So the word vital, I think, is very important for us to remember. Like last week we had ficus for manipulation, people who manipulated. This week we have vital for communication. Because for communication, it's very vital that we get it right. Let's see, what is the vital framework? This presentation today introduces the vital framework, a concept that we've come up with. A structured approach to communication intelligence. Communication intelligence, kind of like emotional intelligence, kind of like intelligence. It's all interrelated, but communication intelligence takes communication processes and tries to present them in a very intelligent way so we can utilize them to have the best ability to get information from ourselves to another person. So communication intelligence enhances how we express ourselves and interpret others. So we're going to go into some things that maybe a lot of people understand already, but to reiterate it and to review it and to go over it, I think is kind of important.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So one of the things I think we talk about in communication is sometimes you want to talk about what you're going to talk about, then talk about what you're going to talk about, and then kind of review what you talked about. It makes the presentation clearer, makes the understanding better. Have you ever heard that expression that we only remember 25% of what somebody tells us?
Yes.
So it's important to say something 4 times, not like, hey, come here, hey, come here, hey, come here, hey, come here, but hey, tonight we have that really important dinner. Let's make sure we're on time for it. What time am I going to be meeting you tonight for that important dinner? Hey, what do you want to be wearing for that important dinner tonight? You can say something 4 different ways that mean the same thing and cover the same subject without appearing to be nagging or making the person feel like they don't think you think that they are listening to you. Is that true?
Yeah, sometimes you need to verify what is the people understand when you say. That's what I use. So I say the message to say, you understand what is the mean, so make other people got it.
Feedback.
Yes.
So active listening. Listen to the person who you're talking with. Communication isn't one way.
It's 2 ways.
2 ways. So here we go. By the end of this presentation, you will understand why clear communication is essential. Learn the 5 core concepts of VITAL, the VITAL framework. Voice, the power of vocal delivery. Interaction, engaging with another person in meaningful dialogue. Transparency, honesty and clarity in messaging. Alignment, ensuring verbal and nonverbal consistency in your communication. And finally, listening, actively understanding and responding to the person that you're communicating with, or the audience, if it's a large audience. So gain feedback, change what you're saying, seek understanding what they've understood from you, and how you might need to change your communication to be more understood by them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So far. You'll gain actionable strategies to implement the skills and components of the VITAL framework in daily conversations for personal and professional success. What's one of the reasons we're going over this today? And I think this is going to be, the next slide is going to really put things in perspective. That communication has been very important for the ages, right? It's really what allows leaders to lead. It's what allows manipulators to manipulate. It's what allows educators to educate. Communication is a skill that we need to know how to do it well in order for us to be better in relationships.
Yeah, it's a tool.
It is a tool. Clear communication is crucial for building trust. Can you believe that? Reducing misunderstandings and improving efficiency. Research shows that 70% of workplace errors result from miscommunication. That's from a research study from 2017. 70% of workplace errors are just miscommunication. Oh, I thought you told me not to send that email. Oh, I thought you said I had till Monday to ship the product.
Yeah, that's it important to verify what the people understand. I go back to this point. Yeah.
So communication, again, interaction as well as active listening. So that's part of it. That's part of the vital things that we need to do. Communication is carried out more smoothly through the use of deliberate body language. We've talked about this in the past, but communication of effectiveness, the effectiveness of communication is based upon 55% bodily movements and gestures, right? So body language, 38% vocal tone, and 7% words or verbal communication. So words don't matter. That's not true. Words really matter. The choice of words matter. And once you know what those words are, the effectiveness of the communication are going to be based upon your tone of voice, your facial expressions, and your body language. That when those are all tied together, communication is more powerful.
Yeah.
You believe that?
Yeah, because you can lose power when one of these components is not aligned.
So when you have
a good tone of voice, but your body language say different, what are you talking? So
oh, we're going to be excellent today. Everything's going to go so well today.
you feel so happy. I see.
Oh, I'm so happy. Yeah. So your words can say one thing, but if your facial expressions, your tone of voice, or your body language say something else, you've ruined the communication. 93% of communication is nonverbal. Words are simply inadequate to convey what we want to say. The correct use of body language serves as an effective nonverbal communication tool to, number one, convince fellow workers at the workplace. 2, share thoughts and feelings with family, and friends. Promote self-success through self-development, meaning you can increase your chances of success in relationship or on the job by developing your communication skills. So some of the things when I was a little kid, right? If you remember, I took speech.
No, I don't remember.
You don't remember that?
No.
You weren't around for that?
No, I'm not born yet.
Oh, that's
so.
true. That is true. I was in speech therapy because I had a very hard time pronouncing certain words. So I had to learn how to enunciate and say words. I couldn't say the letter R. I'd say, whoa, like wobber and stuff. And I remember this in second grade going to speech therapy the whole year trying to learn how to say things
And
correctly.
the therapy overdoses you.
Overdose. Too much therapy. Now I over-enunciate.
Stop to
Now
talk.
I've become a radio DJ. Thank you. But the point is, that was very impactful in my life in how I went about saying words. I never liked to read aloud, in front of the class. I was very shy. But then I went into acting. I also did radio stuff at college where I would read stuff from the AP, from news on radio, and practicing led me to then later on in life doing presentations. Mm-hmm. And based upon that type of training, I got more confident in speaking publicly. Till we have this multi-country, worldwide phenomenal show where millions and millions of people are impacted weekly based upon our communication.
Sure.
Or a few. Whether it's 1 or 1 million, it doesn't matter. We hope to impact someone.
Yeah.
We learn. What else do we have here? Let's continue on. Oh, so to communicate clearly, one must choose and voice words precisely and concisely. Don't use too many words. And something that I've heard recently is like, if you go on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, there are these people posting like language that I'm not even sure what this is called. It's like improve your language skills, and they'll have like a word and then say, instead of this word, use this word. And they're using complicated words. And I remember 20, 30 years ago, the opposite being taught to me. Don't use words that people don't understand. One, like, don't say, hey, peruse this book when you have a chance. It's, hey, look over this book, review this book. Use words that people know. Familiar words. And these things that I've been seeing on Facebook that pop up where it says, use these more complicated words. And it's like, why would you want to do that? I don't know. You might want to know what they are so you understand them, but what you want to do is talk in familiar language to whomever you're talking with. So if you're in a restaurant, you talk in restaurant language. If you're in Spain, talk in the Spanish language, if you can, right? Mm-hmm. What else do we have on this? Be aware through interaction of audience and context. Okay, again, if you're in Spain, maybe I don't know a lot of Spanish words, but I can say, gracias, buenos dias. Where's the
café?
¿Dónde está baño?
El baño.
El baño. Oh, I always do that wrong, see? But trying to say the right thing in the right context, using the right words, and it's almost like that. It's that depending on who you're speaking with about what, if you're talking about to a salesperson about something versus an engineer about something, you may use different terminology or talk about different aspects of the same thing. You need to know your audience.
Yeah.
Communicate transparently. Be open, because it's like when you're trying to be honest. Not trying to be honest, but there's one way to be honest, but there are infinite ways to lie. There's one truth. And so when you're transparent in your communication, you're saying what's true, what's honest, and it's easy to be able to state whatever you're trying to state when you have one story about it. But when you're not transparent and you're trying to hide information, then it may come across like they may think you're lying because you're only giving half a story.
Yeah, some people is professional with that.
Professional liar.
Yeah.
I'll tell you 7 stories.
Like the political people, that's the story. Extra.
Align verbal and nonverbal cues. Again, facial expressions, hand gestures, body language need to be congruent, need to be aligned. Actively listen and provide feedback and get feedback. So listen for feedback and provide feedback to the other person as well. Miscommunication creates frustration and inefficiency. The vital framework provides a structured method to enhance clarity and effectiveness. And that's why we're bringing it to you today. And in fact, in doing this program, we help ourselves understand and reinforce the little tricks of communication to make communication more effective. Sound good?
Good.
When we come back, we'll talk more about vital framework and its impact on communication. Victoria experiences the past, present, and future while sleeping. Will she be able to decipher the mystery of the symbols, messages, and images of her dreams before it is too late? Discover the lives she lives while Victoria dreams.
Tired of attracting the wrong type of guy, it was time to give something else a try. She got her computer and started to plan, and created a process to find her man. Soon she went on a perfect date. And then she knew it must be fate. In just 90 days, that is all it took. How she found her match? It is in the book.
90 Days Soulmate is brought to you by 90 Days Solutions.
Welcome back to 90 Days Soulmate with Lisett.
And Jim.
Today we're talking about the vital framework. It's a framework for communication intelligence. Again, let's look at the icons. On the left side, under the V, we have the microphone for the voice. Choosing the right tone of voice and the right voicing of what you're trying to say in tone, in choice of words, in being clear and concise. I is interaction, interacting with another person. That communication is a two-way street. It's not just a one-way street. You need to have feedback and understanding in order to know how to change your communication. T for transparency. It needs to come from your heart. Your emotions need to be connected to what you're saying. You need to be open and honest in your communication to have the most impact. You don't have to be that way, but if you want to have the biggest, most positive impact for the most people for the longest amount of time, be honest and open. A, alignment of your body language, your facial expressions, your arm movement, how close you are standing to someone, how far you are from them. We're going to talk a little bit about like patting someone on the shoulder when you're talking to them, if it's appropriate. If it's not appropriate, you don't do it. It depends on the situation, the culture, the person. There's all that that's very important. And finally, L, for listening. Listen actively to the feedback you're getting during your communication. Is that important? It is important. And we can continue on with this, which is different modes of communication for effective message delivery. We want to look at some of those different ways of communicating. Verbal communication, we talked about that already. Spoken language remains the primary mode of communication, incorporating tone, pitch, and clarity. Effective verbal communication ensures that ideas are expressed concisely and understood as intended. Very important for whatever you're saying to be understood as you intended to be. Nonverbal communication. 93% of communication is nonverbal. Study from 1971. Facial expressions, indicators of emotion and sincerity. And those are baked into us, right? So from evolution, we have facial expressions, and they're universal.
Yeah.
So no matter what country or culture you're from, there are universal facial expressions. Now, they may have slightly different nuances depending upon the situation. Like maybe in one country, you don't smile in this situation. But smiling does mean, typically, you're happy, or at least you're showing to somebody that you're happy. Now, people can use, and this show was going to start off 12 hours ago as how people were using emotions, body language, and facial expressions to manipulate people by doing things in how they act to manipulate someone to believe in the sincerity of the communication. But we figured, why do that when most people want to communicate properly? They want to communicate something that really is important to them.
Yeah.
So this turned into a vital framework for communication. Gestures reinforce or contradict the spoken words, so they're very important. Posture and stance communicates confidence or hesitation. Eye contact builds rapport and engagement. I remember I took Toastmasters. I went to Toastmasters to get trained in being a Toastmaster, and I became a certified Toastmaster. Part of it was how you stand, how you address the audience, how you kind of lean forward a little bit. You put your weight on the tip of your toes so you're not like standing back from people, but you're engaging. You're trying to connect. You lean in a little bit, not too much. You don't want to be like this talking to them. Unless you're on a football team and you're trying to give somebody the play. That the body language needs to be connected to the time, the place, the person, the setting, what's appropriate. It needs to be appropriate for the given situation.
Yeah.
And what else do we have there? The eye contact. It builds rapport. If you're not looking at somebody in the eyes and you're trying to sell them something, or you're trying to tell them how sincere you are and you're just looking over here, they're not going to believe you. Now, on the opposite, we've done lie detection, haven't we? We've taken courses where they actually say someone who's staring at you when they're telling you an answer sometimes is thinking by doing that they're going to convince you that they're telling you the truth without blinking. You know, so part of that is in lie detection, it's knowing what the baseline is of that person. If they connect with you with their eyes, you know, relatively frequently, but then all of a sudden they connect and they don't break eye contact. Well, is there something going on there that they're trying to convince you of something? Or maybe they're just really emotionally connected to what they're saying. They want to share that with you. So.
And also you need to know the people, because I have people that don't like to have eye contact.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's not lie, it's just shy.
Sure.
And then you need to be careful.
Yeah, as a child, not now, but as a child, I didn't like talking to people and looking in their eyes, and I was quite shy as a child.
So really changes.
It changed a little, just a little bit changed. What else do we got going on here? Okay, more effective modes of communication. So other modes of communication. There's written communication. In a professional environment, emails, reports, and memos convey ideas and decisions. The clarity, structure, and tone of written communication significantly impact interpretation and response. The problem with that, and we found in emails, people are trying to type emails pretty quickly, is it lacks emotional context. So people are like throwing in icons, smiley face, or a wink, like, because you can come across as harsh in quick text messages. Like I know children that think like, why are you yelling at me? I'm like, I'm not yelling at you just because I'm typing in all caps. And I'm kidding. I don't type in all caps. But sometimes if you're just asking a question quickly, because you're typing with your thumbs, it may come across as harsh. Yeah? Or maybe not. It depends on who you're talking with.
Yeah.
What else do we have? Paralinguistics. Tone, pitch, and speech pace contribute to meaning beyond words. Studies indicate that individuals rely heavily on vocal cues to interpret sincerity and intent. Interesting. So vocal variety is something they teach you in Toastmasters. So you try not to stay monotone and you try not to keep one level, but you try to change your pace, change your tone, and try to be connected to what you're saying. So the audience is like, oh, what's the person going to say next? Stay interesting.
Yeah.
Is that true? That's true.
And also it's important the content.
Yes.
Because I was in one seminar and the guy have all these skills, but the content is no value. So you lose also the...
Oh, did you say context or content?
The information they deliver.
So
you can have all...
Yes. So we said 7% were the words, but if the words are garbage, it doesn't really matter what the rest of it is.
Value, yeah.
Oh, I can deliver garbage words with sincerity.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, right? So you need to have value of information, and it has to be appropriate for the other person too. We're using the word appropriate. It has to fit the situation. It has to be what the other person is interested in talking about.
Many components.
You're right. So here are some roles of body language in enhancing or undermining verbal communication. So something humans do naturally is mirroring. Imitating another person's gestures, it will foster connection and trust. We, as humans, naturally mirror people. That's one of the reasons that we play we're like, athletics and dance and other things. We are, as humans, constantly mimicking and mirroring people without even knowing it. It's a natural thing. But in a communication setting, people do, like, I think, who was that? Tony Robbins used to teach in NLP is mirroring as a way to connect with the person. And in fact, when you mirror the person's body language, you can sometimes take on their feelings and kind of understand where they are. So like you see their facial expression and how they're sitting. And I think I remember some of the presentations where they'd have somebody sit on stage, somebody else sit like them and try to mirror them, and then say how they felt, and then see what the correlation was between the feeling of the person who was just copying the body language and the feeling of the person who that was their natural body language. And there was some correlation between the emotions you got from mirroring. So if you could feel like that person, then maybe that person could also feel like there's similarities between you. And that's one of the things taught, right?
I tested sometime where I have a meeting, so virtual or real, that I drink water.
Yep. And then people...
And many people do it
too.
Yeah.
Well, you see people yawn and then other people yawn. It's like, why would someone yawning cause other people to yawn?
Yeah.
It's mirroring, it's natural. Proxemics. This is interesting. The study of personal space and communication varying across cultures. There's a book on different cultures and the different preferences of those cultures for how close you are, how loud you are, how friendly you are, how you sandwich the information you're providing. Like, do you just say bad information, bad information, bad information? Or I'm going to say something good, then I'm going to put the bad thing in there, and then I'm going to finish with something good. And how we are in the United States, culturally, generally, could be different than how someone is in Japan, or France, or Germany.
Yeah.
In a different country, right? How close you stand to somebody. I know that there's some cultures where standing close is natural, and for me, I like a little bit of separation. And somebody, if you stay separated from, I've done this before, where you're a certain distance and they just keep coming closer to you, and you back away and they keep walking towards you, and it's like, just hold on. And that's not only cultural; it can just be like the person's background. So I remember working with somebody who was a football player for all of, for high school and college, and they like to kind of huddle when they would talk. And I was someone who was like, I don't want to huddle in a talk. I just want to have a conversation, right? Haptics. Haptics is touch as a form of communication, indicating support, dominance, or reassurance. It's kind of like, hey, how you doing? If it's someone you know, you can do this. If it's someone you don't know and you walk up to them and you go, how you doing? That might not come across too good.
Yeah, that's
or well.
Yeah, that's is interesting topic.
Interesting. Or like you come out and you go to shake the hand and the person's just like a limp hand, or you're like, I don't want to shake somebody's hand I don't know. Why am I doing that? Like sometimes you feel like they're trying to utilize these methods to connect with you and you're like, whoa, I want to learn more before I feel comfortable to shake your hand.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So you got to read the room. But again, how close you are, how you shake the hand. There's all sorts of books and studies and video training on all those things, especially in the sales realm. There's like, I went through loads and loads of sales training years ago, and they'd have, how you shake your hand this way, or dominate, turn the hand over, or be submissive and have your hand this way, and you're
Don't wash your hands before.
And wash your hands after. And what else do we have here? We have kinesics, which is the interpretation of gestures and body movements, which would be kind of like studying how people are moving their bodies to see how does that impact communication? What might it mean? Maybe it's like almost a study of body language. Are they being open? Are they standing kind of open as they talk to you, or they have their hands crossed like this as they talk? They're looking down. Where are their hands? Are they covering their mouth? All these things are part of communication. Plenty of things to study, lots of stuff to study and look at. Victoria experiences the past, present, and future while sleeping. Will she be able to decipher the mystery of the symbols, messages, and images of her dreams before it is too late? Discover the lives she lives while Victoria dreams.
Tired of attracting the wrong type of guy, it was time to give something else a try. She got her computer and started to plan, and created a process to find her man. Soon she went on a perfect date. And then she knew it must be fate. In just 90 days, that is all it took. How she found her match? It is in the book.
90 Days Soulmate is brought to you by 90 Days Solutions.
Dangers of being incongruent, not being in alignment, what could they be? Incongruence between verbal, vocal, and non-verbal communication can lead to mistrust and misinterpretation. A leader verbally expressing confidence but displaying nervous body language undermines their credibility. A manager providing positive feedback with a dismissive tone can cause confusion. Oh, yeah, you did a great job this year. Oh, well, your performance was hold on, I got to take this phone call. Oh, yeah, it was excellent. Yeah. I mean, we've all been there, right? Where you're hearing something and what they're saying doesn't fit in the context of how they're saying it.
Oh, using the phone, the cell phone, so people is talking and never put the phone in the table.
Yeah, you see whole dinners like that where a family of 6 all have their phones or they've got their iPads.
And communicate by chat the same table.
Yeah. Hey, what are you going to have for dinner? I'm going to have this. What else do we have there? Mixed signals in relationships create emotional disconnects. I love you so much.
Thank you.
You're the only one for me.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. What else do we have? How about the psychological impact of incongruence? Studies on cognitive dissonance indicate that individuals experience discomfort when verbal and nonverbal cues contradict each other. So when the verbal and nonverbal cues from the other person are in contradiction, you are actually causing cognitive dissonance in the other person. This can lead to skepticism and disengagement in personal and professional settings. So it's very important that in personal and professional settings that we're congruent, that our alignment between verbal, nonverbal, body language in communication is there, that alignment is there. That way we have one message that comes through all those different communication modes. Yeah.
And also people that change the direction also for leadership sometimes is tough. I see some company that, send invitation at 3 p.m. and then, no, do it, and the invitation is already done. But you told me. Oh, really? I told you? I said, oh, no. I said, you change the communication is...
Yeah. They want a meeting, everyone has to be in the meeting, and then a half hour later, oh, no, it's not that important. And then tomorrow, another one. I've been involved in companies, and I've heard other people give me feedback that said, I really liked this person as my manager, but then one day she came to work and she was all upset and mean to everybody. And then next week she was fine again. But now, every once in a while, I see her moody. And I can't handle that. So I think part of this is we develop a bias, right? So that if we think they're a really good person and a nice person, that's fine. But we see them, say, maybe incongruent one day, and now we start to mistrust how they've been treating us, even if they've been nice to us, because we've seen them be incongruent. And now, since we've got that little bit of bias that we're looking for them to be incongruent again, we start seeing it more and more often. And it might have always been there, but now we're looking for it. Right? So we're setting up our own expectation that person has a challenge. And that's how a good relationship in a company or a good management system can lead to a problem when suddenly there's a change for some reason. Financially, we got to do this month, and somebody acts out of character. It can break the relationship between many people.
Yeah.
How about developing active listening skills? So here's a strategy. If you develop active listening skills by fully concentrating on the speaker, reflecting on the message, and responding thoughtfully, those are things that you can do for active listening. Techniques include paraphrasing to confirm understanding, restating what was said by the person so they think you know what they're saying in a different way what they said to make sure you've got understanding. As we talked about early on in our show, sometimes you have to say things 4 ways to really get understanding. And paraphrasing is one of those ways that you can reinforce a message. Either the other person's message can be reinforced by you paraphrasing it. So both of you now have focused more on that and now remember it, and that aids in communication. Mm-hmm. Maintaining eye contact. Avoiding interruptions. Well, that's important. So avoiding interruptions in communication. Oh, I have to take that phone call. I got to go answer the door, in the middle of something. So keeping...
Oh, I hear some noise. Do you do that?
Do you hear that? I do that. Yeah. I see a rabbit run. Oh, there's a rabbit. There's a deer. Yeah. So it's hard for people with ADHD. And I'm going to state this, that people who will let themselves be distracted, and sometimes it's hard not to, but sometimes it's a choice.
Yeah.
That distractions and breaking the communication can destroy the communication. And then the other person just doesn't want to talk anymore about the same subject. They're like, well, they're not interested. There was an interruption. I was so emotionally connected to what I was saying, and they broke the connection.
Yeah.
Now I know what you're saying. I got it now. Okay. What else do we have? So here, enhance emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence is a subset of communication intelligence. You could say it both ways. One could be a subset of the other. Communication intelligence could be a subset of emotional intelligence. But in this setting, and what we're talking about today, if you enhance your emotional intelligence, it will increase your communication intelligence. It plays a crucial role in effective communication. High EQ individuals are adept at recognizing emotions in themselves and others, managing emotions and emotional responses appropriately, and adapting communication styles to different audiences. Emotional intelligence and communication intelligence have a lot of overlap. Mm-hmm. Utilize your non-verbal reinforcement. Ensuring that body language aligns with spoken words enhances credibility. Training in nonverbal cues can improve persuasion and relationship building skills. Adapt communication to cultural contexts. Cultural intelligence is integral to communication intelligence. Gestures, eye contact, and physical proximity vary across cultures. It can influence interpretations and effectiveness. Awareness of these differences can prevent miscommunication. And finally, we will talk about communication intelligence and emotional intelligence together. Communication intelligence refers to the ability to convey and interpret messages effectively, combining verbal articulation, nonverbal fluency, emotional awareness, and contextual adaptation. Whereas emotional intelligence has a lot of these same overlap. Emotional intelligence as a component of communication intelligence, Daniel Goleman in 1995 wrote about 5 components of emotional intelligence that will enhance communication. Self-awareness, recognizing personal communication strengths and weaknesses, working on your strengths and trying to develop ways to overcome your weaknesses. Self-regulation, managing emotional responses to maintain constructive dialogue. Motivation, communicating with purpose and engagement. Empathy, understanding others' perspectives for meaningful interactions. And finally, social skills, building rapport and resolving conflicts effectively. All important. And finally, applications of communication intelligence. Leadership. Effective leaders use communication intelligence to inspire and influence teams. Workplace communication enhances collaboration and conflict resolution, and in personal relationships, it strengthens understanding and emotional connection. When we come back, we'll finish up our vital framework for communication intelligence. Victoria experiences the past, present, and future while sleeping. Will she be able to decipher the mystery of the symbols, messages, and images of her dreams before it is too late? Discover the lives she lives while Victoria dreams.
Tired of attracting the wrong type of guy, it was time to give something else a try. She got her computer and started to plan, and created a process to find her man. Soon she went on a perfect date. And then she knew it must be fate. In just 90 days, that is all it took. How she found her match? It is in the book.
90 Days Soulmate is brought to you by 90 Days Solutions.
Welcome back to 90 Days Soulmate with Lisett
and Jim.
Today we're talking about communication effectiveness, the vital framework for communication intelligence. The vital framework, again, is voice, interaction, transparency, alignment, and listening. It's a framework for positive communication with others. We'll go right through the V, the I, the T, the A, and the L, and finish off with a quick summary and have you on your way. The V, voice, clear and confident speech. Work on that, right? What it means. Your tone, pitch, and articulation shape how your message is received. Voice conveys confidence, sincerity, and intent beyond words. So, for example, a steady voice during a presentation enhances credibility. A calm, reassuring tone in customer service builds trust. A rushed or impatient tone can signal frustration, even if unintended. We'll move on to I, the interaction part. Interaction engaging meaningful dialogue. So engaging and meaningful dialogue with others. What it means, effective interaction is about creating a two-way exchange, fostering engagement, and demonstrating active involvement. For example, want some examples? Here we go. Asking open-ended questions encourages deeper conversations. Using affirmations like, "That makes sense," shows engagement. Responding thoughtfully rather than waiting for your turn to speak fosters connection.
That makes sense.
So the open-ended questions are questions that are like what? Open-ended question. An open-ended question doesn't require a yes, no, or single-word answer. Open-ended would be, what's an open-ended question? And then someone answers it. Here's an open-ended question. So responding thoughtfully by asking a question and giving feedback rather than just waiting to say something. So respond to what they're saying, not just say what you want to say. Make sense? That's interaction. Transparency. What it means. Transparency involves delivering messages with openness and clarity to avoid misunderstandings and to build trust. So some examples of that would be a manager clearly expressing project expectations, which will prevent confusion. Being upfront about potential challenges fosters credibility. Avoiding vague language ensures accurate understandings. And in a relationship, being very clear on what you want in the relationship, being clear of your expectations, being clear on your relationship status. And part of that is knowing who you are, because it's hard to do any of that without having done that prior research. I would think so. And what else do we have here? That was T, right? Transparency, honest and clear. A, alignment. And we're talking about alignment of the communication, the verbal and the nonverbal. It means that your words, your tone, and body language should align for effective communication. Misalignment creates confusion and distrust. Let's look at some examples on that. A nervous speaker saying, "I'm confident," while avoiding eye contact contradicts their message. A leader giving positive feedback with a monotone voice weakens its impact. "You're such a fantastic worker. I would want to hire 7 more of you." A sincere smile paired with welcoming words strengthens interactions, doesn't it?
Makes sense.
It makes sense. How about L? You're listening, aren't you listening? You're listening. Active listening. What does listening, active understanding and response? Active listening ensures messages are accurately received and relationships are strengthened. For example, a leader who listens to employees' concerns fosters a positive workplace. A therapist practicing reflective listening helps clients feel heard. What I heard you say is this. A salesperson who listens to their customer and listens to their customer's needs will build stronger relationships. So that's how active listening helps in understanding. So today, what we went through was the vital framework, right? The vital framework. And the benefit of following such a program or structure or framework for communication is clear communication isn't just about speaking. It's about ensuring messages are delivered, received, and understood effectively. By applying the vital principles, you can enhance credibility, reduce miscommunication, and build deeper connections in both personal and professional life. Implement these strategies, practice them daily, and watch how vital communication intelligence transforms your interactions. The way you communicate determines the quality of your relationships and success. Be vital, be clear, and be understood. You got it?
I got it.
I'm going to just flash up on screen one more time what VITAL stands for. Voice, clear and confident speech. Interaction, engaging, meaningful dialogue. Transparency, honest and clear messaging. alignment, consistent verbal and nonverbal cues, and finally, listening, active understanding and response. That is the vital framework for communication intelligence. Brought to you by 90 Day Soulmate with Lisett
and Jim.
Thank you for listening to our vital subject, our vital framework.
See you next week.
You're listening to 90 Day Soulmate with the relationship engineers, Jim Golnick and Lisett Guevara, only on LA Talk Radio.